What are you saying on the YouTube? What did you find, Adriana?
The link to Brach.
Good. Well, there's many links. That's true. So especially, especially if you have like very strong emotions and you don't know how to deal with them, and you have a feeling that they shouldn't be there and you want to get rid of them. I mean, it's such a good way. So for example, Michal, like what happened to you when you were thinking about your mom, that would be the moment to use it. You're not using it when nothing big is happening. You're using it when, you have emotions that you think, wow, they should not be there. And then we distract ourselves, as you said. You stop thinking about it, and then you want to go somewhere else. And she uses like something really simple. A word is like, this belongs. So you give it a lot of space when you go, yeah, this belongs here. It's like when we're fighting with somebody, thinking they have no right to be here, but then we say no, but they belong. So then it's the space. And then you look, when she goes about investigating. We're not investigating what's going on, why is this happening, what is all this. We're investigating the sensation by allowing, recognizing, and then investigating the sensation. And then so that's the I, and then the N, the nurturing. The nurturing is like, okay, where does it hurt? Just also this one sentence, if you are a psychologist, and sometimes you do have a feeling that you have patients that are absolutely not connected to their body. Yeah. So when you let them sit down and let them think about their worries and fears and all this, and then you ask them, where does it hurt? They have to go inside the body, because it doesn't hurt in the brain or in the head or in the mind. These feelings are in the body. So it's very helpful also. And for us to just tell, okay, where does it hurt? And not to do anything, not to push it away, not even investigating this for it to make it go away. This is a very important point, because we practice in order for the pain to go away. No, we practice in order to understand why the pain is there. And as long as we don't understand the causes for the pain, then it's not going to work. Then again, we have to suppress. So where were we? So then where does it hurt? And then just to look at it, and then we see the nature of this whole thing. If we have enough patience and courage to just look at it, because I think I already said yesterday, because then you have already made the step out of your churning mind or the pain. Otherwise you become the pain. But when you go, oh, where does it hurt? You have one part of the mind, the awareness, who kind of comes out of the pain and then looks at the pain. And then all of a sudden, with time, all of a sudden you notice that you can be in a very open state, you can be in a very closed state, you can be panicking, you can be full of courage and all this. But when you go into this awareness to look what is happening, you feel that the awareness itself always feels totally the same. And that gives you a lot of confidence that you can always go to that space where you can look. And then the nurturing would be, okay, what do I need now? And something realistic, because if you say, what do I need? Well, I need $1 million. I mean, this is totally not realistic. And then all of a sudden we kind of, what do we need, in order to heal? We need love, affection, understanding, connection, whatever. And we can give that to ourselves because we have it in us. So this is basically the method. And first it came from somebody else. I can't remember what the person was. And Alan Wallace was using it also since quite a while in his course, creating balanced emotions, I think, or what's it called? Something like that. Creating emotional balance, I think that's, or developing emotional balance. And so he uses it, recognize, allow, investigate, and then non-identification. So that's more the Buddhist thing, Because as a Buddhist, sometimes we don't want to go because we have to depart from self-interest and all this. So then we think, all the others, but not me. It's not what the Buddha said, but this is how we understand it sometimes. So then this nurturing of self-compassion, it was kind of seen with a bit of a frown at the beginning, especially in Mahayana circles, saying, this New Age thing and all this. But I have to say, when I see how many people have really low self-confidence and how many people constantly judge themselves and beat themselves up, and it's really needed, because if you don't know how to take good care of yourself, how can you take care of others? And especially if you want to go on this spiritual path and then, practice difficult things, as Michal was pointing out. How can I accept a murderer in my house? I mean, come on, this is not peanuts. This is very, very big. And then to transform this view of like no into compassion, I mean, this is huge. This is really huge. So we mustn't underestimate the task. And as I'm saying, what I can also see sometimes is like, instead of helping us, it kind of makes us even worse, full of guilt. We're not good enough. When we have all these, we see these high ideals, and even, people in front of us, like the lamas and all this, and they're all able to do that, and I am not, and all this. And then we become even more stressed and more cruel to ourselves, how bad we are, and like this. But it's also not to indulge in self-pity, yeah? So please, please do understand this. You do self-compassion in order to be able then to be of benefit to others. And with the self-compassion, there's somebody else that you can look up on YouTube, and I put the name in the chat. Her name is Christine Neff. And when she talks about, it's a little bit, it goes all in the same direction. Christine Neff. So you also find her on YouTube. And so she talks about, so that it doesn't go into self-pity, because if we constantly just focus on our own pain, very quickly we're going to be depressed. And then, the pain becomes really huge. So she says, in order for the self-compassion to work and to open you up, you need kind of 3 components, I think she said. I only watched it once, but I think that's what she said. Basic awareness, like having this ability to be able to look calmly and clearly what's going on in your mind. This you can only get through training, not through just wanting it. This you have to train. You can call it mindfulness meditation or shamatha, or basic awareness, or whatever. Maybe mindfulness is also has become such a wide term that we kind of don't know what exactly it is. But the basic awareness to know what's going on in your mind and to be able not to react. That's difficult, or not to react too strongly. Like what happened to you before, when you start trembling, you just watch it. You did the right thing. Like we do the things that we're ready to do. So don't jump into things that are too difficult. But to be able to just watch it. And why we train with the breath is because the breath is neutral. We're neither attached to the breath nor averse to the breath. You could, practice shamatha with an object or something like that, just for the mind to hold one object. But with the breath, it's always there. It's neutral, and we're neither attached nor averse to it. So this is why we usually use the breath for the mind to become stable and open. So that's the first thing that you need. Only when you have that, then you start to look at your pain. Yeah, when you are able to make a little bit step out of the pain and then look at the pain, then you look at the pain. Where does it hurt? And like that. And then she talks about the shared humanity, like, to really acknowledge first to ourselves, yes, this is difficult. Yes, this hurts. So we're not using, rational reasoning of, yeah, okay, this is bad, but if I look at others, theirs is much bigger and much stronger. Of course, that we also use, but not in that case. Yeah. So basically, this is what makes Buddhism quite complicated, because you get a full box of tools and you are the only one who really knows when to apply what. And how can you know? By training basic awareness and by experiencing it also. As I said, Buddhism is not a belief system. You can't learn the things by heart and then you got it. You have to experience them. So then the shared humanity comes in so that we're not drowning in our own misery. First, we acknowledge, yes, this is difficult, so that our ego calms down. Because if we constantly tell the ego, oh, come on, stop complaining, stop complaining, stop complaining, it feels kind of like a child. It feels neglected. It feels like not being heard. And then it starts to rebel and it starts to get worse. So then we see, yes, of course, yes, this is bad, but I'm not the only one. Okay, so then compassion for yourself and for all others. So this is also a very good methods. And then we can start with Losang, when mind training, we forget about also like what Noah is doing. Yeah, like to learn that everybody else is more precious than I am. And that he, especially the one who treats me very badly, I will especially treat him very kindly. So these are like, you need to do a lot of steps until you get there, and you need to want to do it. Yeah, this is, yeah. And once you want to do this, then you see the power of these methods. Yeah. Then you see the power of these. It's a bit like very strong medicine, if the medicine it might be very good medicine, but if it's too strong for your weak body, first you have to build up the body so you can go, for example, chemotherapy, so that you can go into chemotherapy. Otherwise, the whole thing is destroying yourself. And this is where the Sangha comes in. You see, this is where, I've showed you this book and I tell you about YouTube and all this. Yes, these are very, very good tools. But it's still, I think, more beneficial to practice in a group. Because then you have the moral support, you have the emotional support, you see that other people are also failing, that this is really difficult. The other day here in Bern, we discussed we are discussing the 6th chapter of Shantideva's book, Bodhicharyavatara, about patience. And somebody has just come back from years of really difficult, stressful situation where there was no cooperation in a Buddhist center, by the way, on top of it, no cooperation and just struggle and this and that. You don't need to think about it. None of you knows it. So she came back and she came to the lecture in the evening. So we discussed it, what do you think or what antidotes to apply to anger? So everybody who came, they all know the antidotes by heart. And then I asked them, I said, and does it work? And they all said no. So this is it. When the situation gets really tough, we see, okay, I still get angry, but that is the working of it, by the way. When we see that we still get angry and we can still continue and we're not exploding and we're not killing anybody like this, then we can see it works. We think that by applying antidotes, the anger is not going to arise anymore. It will arise. We have so many imprints of anger, yeah. But by applying antidotes to the present anger, we will not react with body or speech. Now the anger is still there, so that's okay. Yeah. So this is how these things kind of start to work. Okay, let's do a short reflection before we start with the emptiness, because we need a lot of merit to be able to understand this. So it's always good to create some merit. So we just reflect shortly. Close your eyes, maybe feel your body, connect with your body. As we said, happiness is here and now. Or maybe we should let go of the word happiness. That's not such a good word. More like alive, joyful, open, spacious, loving, peaceful. What else could we use? Confident, courageous, things like that. That can only be found in the present. state of mind. But if it's not there, no problem. It's absolutely no problem. So we connect with the body, come into the present so that we can experience life and we're not kind of lost in thoughts all the time. And then we can do some kind of targeted thinking, you know, becoming aware that at the moment I have this precious human rebirth. It's amazing. It needs so much merit, so much positive energy to get it. We don't understand. And then to meet people like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, you know, to meet realized beings, maybe not personally, but now, you know, through technology, that we still have them in this world and we can listen to them and we can learn from them. We can sometimes even ask questions. I mean, how wonderful. We need so much merit, so much positive energy to have this situation so that we can practice on this path. I mean, we're so fortunate. We have worked very, very hard to get this situation in past lives. Otherwise, we would not be in the situation where we are. And then to really make a decision, I want to use this in a meaningful way. And whatever is meaningful to you, that's what it will be. You have to decide. And we can open up the heart a little bit, and not just for myself, not just for my happiness, for my well-being, for my spaciousness, openness, peace of mind. Of course I will enjoy it, but may other people be able to benefit from it. So if I am joyful, happy, peaceful, I have no wish to harm anybody. I have much more tolerance, much more patience. The more I cling to my own happiness, the more other people will be able to destroy it by not being the way I want them to be. The more difficult it will be for me to have peace of mind. The more I am concerned with the happiness of others, the more spacious I become. I'm not so important anymore. And the more chances I have to be open, spacious, and peaceful and loving. So that would be just a suggestion how to make your life meaningful. By slowly, step by step, being able to have an open heart towards all being. That from the bottom of our heart, whomever we meet, we can wish them, may you be happy, may you be well. No matter what they've done, no matter how they are. Because we're doing negative actions because we suffer. We're not doing them because we're happy. Somebody who is happy and peaceful doesn't kill, doesn't steal, doesn't rape. So we have a lot of good reasons to wish for people's happiness. Or so from the bottom of our heart, we can think, may you be free from suffering and the causes of suffering, whomever we meet. And if we can do something to relieve their suffering, we do, spontaneously, not out of duty or out of guilt or because we're being paid, but because we want to be kind to whomever we meet, to have good wishes for them, to whomever we meet. It's difficult, yes. but we can train it. Okay, so that would be, you know, if you start your day like this, for example, this is what they say before you get up in the morning, and just this one sentence, you know, may be of benefit to others. What? It makes your coffee so much more delicious when you drink it. Yeah, because then the mind is in a good state. Otherwise, the coffee has to be really like, wow, you know, for you to enjoy it. If your mind is happy, it doesn't matter, you know. Sometimes the color is enough. As long as it's black or brown, it's good enough. Whereas when your mind is unhappy, then we need all these special things that go with it and special machines and this and that. So, and we all know that. Yeah, we all know that. The happier we are, the more spacious we are, the easier it is for us to enjoy the things that we meet. Can you see the text?
Yes.
So we come, okay, great. So we come to the emptiness bit. Okay, so the last one we have to give up, and we have to give it up if we want to become Buddhas. Otherwise, if you want to become fully enlightened, but also if you want to be free from negative emotions, that also goes for nirvana. You know, if you don't want to be reborn under the control of negative emotions, we also have to realize emptiness. Okay, so it says, yet no matter how far I have progressed in the Dharma, as long as there is grasping at the self, there is no freedom. To elaborate in more detail, if you grasp at existence, there is no liberation. So maybe, you know, maybe it's really helpful if we put some words in here. If you grasp at true, inherent, independent, autonomous, what else could we use kind of words? Existence, self-existing existence, like independent, there is no liberation. If you grasp at non-existence, there are no higher rebirths. Meaning, then if you say, okay, you know, that nothing exists and everything is just like a dream, or everything is a projection, so who cares? I can do whatever I want, but still there's the conventional level, and you create karma, and then you fall into the lower states. So the Dalai Lama always says, you know, if you have the choice between true believing or grasping at true existence, or thinking that, okay, then nothing exists, then it's better to grasp a true existence, a true self, a true me, a true I that wants to be happy, because then at least you're not creating too much negative karma. Yeah. So these are the two extreme views that need to be avoided. One is that we think things exist out there independently from their own side, without my mind kind of adding something to them, or without my mind bringing them into existence almost. That's one extreme. The other extreme is nothing exists. Everything is just like a dream. You know, like what's it called? Matrix. Yeah. So it's a very good movie, by the way, in order to get a bit closer to this theory of emptiness. Like I can still remember that scene when the guy is eating the steak. You know, I don't know if you remember. So he's eating a juicy steak, and so he says, "Okay, I know it's not real, but it's still very delicious." So this is a bit this kind of thing about emptiness. It can still be delicious even though it's not real. This is the power of our mind to bring things into existence. So if you grasp at both, you are just ignorant. So do the best you can to remain in non-duality. Like the things that I perceive, the things that appear to my mind, they are not separate from my mind. This is what non-duality means, you know. Whatever appears to us, it doesn't exist separately from my mind. And it definitely does not exist the way that it appears. If you hear this for the first time, maybe write this down, because that's the key for understanding. Things appear in a certain way, but they do not exist the way that they appear. But we believe that they exist the way that they appear, and then we're having conflict. And then we're getting attached to it when we think this is really good. You know, when we use these words, wow, this is fantastic. This is mega whatever, or I don't know how we say in English or how we say in Hebrew. You know, in German, we have quite a few words. If they change these words, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And extremely good, totally good, fantastically good, mega good. It's like, you know, so we kind of add to it with these words, and we make them truly existing out there, really good, really bad, and so on. All things and events are the domain of the mind. So without searching for a creator of the four elements, such as a mere chance or an almighty God, so there's no external kind of things that bring things into existence. It's not coincidence. It's also not a creator God. That's what Buddhism says. I'm not saying there is no creator God, okay? I don't know. But Buddhism would say that God does not exist. So for me, that seems okay. For other people, of course, if you have a theistic religion, this is almost heresy. It's not just almost, it is heresy. So you choose, you know. So do the best you can to rest in the mind's innermost nature. The nature of appearances is like a magical illusion, like a dream. And the way they arise is through interdependence. That is why things are, which cannot be expressed in words. So do the best you can to dwell in a state which is inexpressible. So we constantly trying to express what all this is, but it's inexpressible because, and then in order to understand, we have to experience it. But in order to get to a correct understanding, we need to express what it is not. We can't say what it is, but we can say what it is not. Then, of course, the dedication, by the merit of this virtue, explaining the parting from the four attachments, may all the seven classes of living beings be led to the perfect ground of Buddhahood. Okay, so I'll show you a few things which it makes it a bit easier to understand what is being said. Okay, can you see? The ones from the Wednesday class, you already know these images. Okay, what's going on here? Somebody says this is a 6, somebody says this is a 9. So what is it? The thing that is lying on the ground. You can either write in the chat or you can say.
It's a form.
It's a form. So we cannot use it as a 6 or as a 9. We can only use it as a form.
No,
It's
it depends on.
It's a point
It
of
depends
view.
on. Depends on the point of view.
Yeah. So, but I did ask. I asked a very precise question: is it a 6 or is it a 9?
It's what your mind
Both.
creates.
Can't understand. Wait, I have to close you so I can see.
It is neither and both.
It's neither and both. Can it be neither and both?
Yes, it is neither if you see it from, for instance, from the side in which it is presented, which we see it from the side. And it is both because if we are on the left-hand side, it's a 6, and we are on the right-hand side, it's a 9.
Yeah, but it cannot be really both. If you say it's both, you will have to probably add a word by saying it is, but it can be both, but in a relative way. So it cannot be both truly.
It's a little bit, if you know the story, like Schrödinger's cat.
Okay, I don't know the story, but anyway. So it depends. This is it, you know, this is what I show the children when I do workshops. So the way I explain to them is like, it is neither a 6 nor a 9, but it can be a 6 or a 9, depending where you are. And it's not a true 9 and it's not a true 6. It's also not a true form. You know, form is also just labeled. It's just a drawing. So form is also just only labeled on the thing. But it appears to be really existing from its own side. It looks for the one who says 6, for the one who says 9, it looks as if there's a real 6 or a real 9 in that form. And then we start having conflicts. So what I'm telling the kids, I say, look, it is what Edward said also, it can be a 6 and it can be a 9. But if you are convinced that it can only be a 6, then you think that the 9 is wrong. If you're convinced that it can only be a 9, then you are convinced that the 6 is wrong, and then there's conflict. Yeah. So a little bit like this. So 6 and 9 are just different. It's not that one is right and one is wrong, because about opinions, we go like this. My opinion is always right, and your opinion, if it's different, then it's wrong, isn't it? And this is how we get conflict. That's one thing. But here we say both. Yeah, it can be both, whatever. Then I usually show them, oh, no, wait, I made a small PowerPoint. Then I show them the next picture. And then this. What is this?
It's a
A
duck
duck
and
or
and the rabbit.
Okay, here it's more difficult to say it can be both, isn't it? Because it's either a duck or it is a hare. It can't be both. You know, it's either that or that, but also it depends how you look at it. Then the next picture, show them the next picture. Now we come to emptiness, you know. So again, when you go, it's neither a real duck nor a real bunny. Actually, it's just a drawing, isn't it? So it's like, but the mind, poof. When I say, you know, when I say, what is this? None of the kids say the drawing of a duck or the drawing of a rabbit. Yeah, they all say a duck or a rabbit. So this is to confuse you, by the way. Yeah, because we need to loosen up our very strong views of real and inherent existence. So that's what it's for. So then the next picture is like this. So I go, what is this? So what do you think? What is it?
Chariot.
Huh? A chariot. Yeah. So, you know, the 7-part chariot kind of thing. Geshe-ma is probably going to do that. So you can think about this picture. You can download these pictures from the internet. So of course, you know, the kids say a bicycle. I say, okay, can you ride on it? Well, no, because it's not together. Okay, so where is the bicycle? So when we talk about emptiness, like our mind projects into these parts a really existing bicycle, although this is just a drawing. But if you would have the parts here and you could actually put them together. But when you look for the bicycle, you cannot find it anywhere. You know, it's not here, it's not here, it's not in the wheels, it's not in the pedals, it's not in the brakes. It's nowhere to be found. Yet, it is a bicycle. When does it become a bicycle?
Can you say that when we approach, you see particles that can give us an image of a bicycle?
Okay. So, but where is the bicycle? Because, you know, if the bicycle is in the parts, we have to find a little bit of bicycle in every part.
But there is no bicycle in here.
So where is it?
In our mind.
In our image.
So then enemy and stranger and friend, where is it? Is it in the person out there, or where is it?
In our point of view.
In our point of view, exactly. So there's no real enemy, there's no real friend, there's no real stranger, you know, when we look at others. So as you say, Michal, this is right. Like all these parts are what? Parts of
particles.
Particles
of bicycle.
Okay, but where is the bicycle? When you say, you know, it's so cruel when you bring people into saying these things. Because if you say these are parts of a bicycle, you need to have a bicycle somewhere to whom these parts belong.
So all these particles are in the linkage or in the link between our mind and this picture.
Okay. So
Can we say
let's say we put it all together. When does it become a bicycle? What does it need to be a bicycle?
Combined.
you can ride on,
We need to put them together.
and you can ride on.
Yeah, well, you know, even if you see a rusty old bicycle somewhere lying on the beach because somebody just threw it there, you would still get angry and say, oh, who threw this bicycle on the beach, isn't it?
What you need is the knowledge of the label. Like we need to know that there's label.
Label, exactly. Thank you. Label is the magic word. This is how everything exists as merely labeled, but has the function of a bicycle. Now, what is being neglected? Gosh, what is being rejected is true independent existence. Because if that would be a true bicycle, and then somebody throws it into the Yahkon River because it's old, and then I'm a fish and I come along, I wouldn't label this bicycle. Yeah. So it is only a bicycle when you start to label it bicycle and when it fulfills
Its function.
Fulfilled the function of a bicycle. So you need the parts and the particles, you need the function maybe, and you need a mind, you need a label, and you need a mind that gives it the label, and then you have an dependently arisen bicycle. So this is how it goes. I show you another little thing, how our mind is tricking us. This is about senses. It's a small video. I mean, it's a long video, but I only show you one part. You should be able to hear the sound. If you don't, then shout.
Okay, come on over. We're going to do a test.
Bo's going to prove to a group of volunteers that the two squares are the same color grey.
When you open your eyes, right, first time in the morning, say, do you think you see the world as it really is?
I say yes.
Yeah. You're seeing it. Oh, you're definitely
believing.
That depends if I'm wearing my glasses or not. Yes.
Yes. Yes?
I think so.
I mean, why not? All right, well, look at this cube here. What if I told you that those two surfaces are exactly the same? Would you believe me?
I wouldn't.
Okay, come on up. Okay.
Bo has attached a grey swatch to one of the surfaces to allow the volunteers to test this one out for themselves.
Take that dot and move that nice up here, right there.
Oh my God. No way. I want to do it again.
What the? This is crazy.
It's mind-boggling.
Your mind's been blown.
This is freaking me.
It's difficult to believe. Let's take another look at the illusion. Try holding up one of your hands and blocking this section of the image. And just in case you're still having trouble seeing it, here's that section blocked off for you.
Different? Same.
It's freaking me out.
What's going on?
Tell us.
Are we changing the surface? What's changing?
Our perception.
Our perception's changing.
Yeah.
Okay, why? That's the question. If we could understand this, we would understand how the brain works.
So how can what appear to be two distinctly different shades of grey actually be the same colour? It has to do with how your brain uses shadows to make decisions about what it's seeing. Take a look at this object.
Okay, so this is kind of going in the same direction. It's mind-blowing, isn't it? It's
Fantastic.
It's really surprising. So if our senses can trick us like this, can you imagine how our mind, our mental stuff can trick us like this? So this is maybe an approach towards emptiness, but it's not just about this. It's more about there is no real, independently, autonomously existing I or me. But it feels like this, the same way as when we see parts of bicycle, when they're nicely arranged like this, that we can already see that it will be a bicycle. In the future, we go, this is a bicycle. Yeah. So our mind is adding something to our body and mind. Body and mind are changing all the time. But then it is adding an independent, impermanent, like a permanent one, not impermanent, a permanent kind of, how to say, autonomous, independent, only one thing, I, me, that always remains the same. Now, very often when people hear this for the first time, they say like, oh, no, I feel my I changing. You don't feel your I changing. For this, you need to really do meditation on it. And every morning when you wake up, you go, is my I the same as yesterday? And you have to say yes, you know. Is my I the same as it was 30 years ago? Yes. The feeling of I, me is always the same. For that, you really need to observe. We know that the body changes, and we know that the mind changes. And the misconception that we have, we think that this I or this me is the boss. Yeah. The same way as we think the bicycle is possessing these parts, because we say parts of the bicycle. Yeah. But it's the other way around. There is no bicycle without parts. There is no I or me without body and mind. And whenever we say I or me, then we think then it's either the body or the mind doing something. The I by itself, it cannot do anything whatsoever. But because we grasp onto it, you know, like what are we grasping? An inherently really existing me or self. And then we forget about that it needs the body and the mind to exist. And then whatever seems to be beneficial to this I or me, then we kind of develop attachment. Whatever is seemingly creating problems or not beneficial, we generate aversion. And these two mental states totally kind of continue to exaggerate. Not only they see the things as truly existent out there, they add beauty or ugliness to it, which is not there. Yeah. And then more attachment and more aversion. Then we start to fight, we start to lie, we start to steal this and this and this. And we don't, and then like this, our ego-centered mind makes, how was it, did we say this morning? You know, when we see others, they become almost non-existent or just lumps of flesh. Yeah. We don't see them as human beings that want the same as we do, like happiness. Okay, and then we separate ourselves from others. And here we can also take Einstein, who says it like in a really beautiful way. He says a human being is a part of what we call the universe, a part. But because of a mental illusion, we see ourselves as separate from the others. You know, when it says in the text, let go of dualistic appearances or existences. Yeah. So, and Einstein says, if we continue to live like this, we will destroy the universe, we will destroy the planet. So our task is to become oneness with everybody. Not you are me and I am you, but we are all a part of something bigger, which we call the universe. Yeah. So I am not the center of the universe. I just only feel like this. So, so when they talk about lacking awareness or not being able to see how things exist. So maybe I read you something from a friend of mine also, which is, you know, he can express it much better than I do, but it was written in German, so then I kind of translated it. So lacking awareness creates ignorance and it creates fear. So as a basis for all this is the grasping at an I, the fundamental ignorance, which is characterized to a feeling of insecurity and fear. You know, it's not the body who is afraid. It's not really the mind who is afraid. It's feel, I am afraid. So because we create that separation. Yeah. Lacking awareness is a veil that prevents direct and immediate experience, which leads to Buddhahood. This relates to two things: not to be aware of the real existence of phenomena, and not to be aware how these phenomena manifest on a relative level. So there's two levels of existence. There's the ultimate level of existence, which is there being empty of real, true, inherent existence. You need to hear these words many times until you can kind of put them where they belong. Yeah. So that is their ultimate existence. They're being empty of inherent existence, but it doesn't mean that they don't exist. Yeah, they exist, but depending on parts and particles, depending on a function, depending on a label, and depending on a mind who labels them. Then things come into existence. And if we see this directly in the right way, our suffering is finished. As long as we don't see it in the right way, we continue to suffer, either, all pervasive suffering, which is very subtle, or the suffering of change, or the suffering of pain. Yeah. So that's the key. This is the key to fulfill our wish for lasting happiness. So a proper awareness realizes the real existence as dynamic, not graspable, no substance, and without essence. There is nowhere that we can find a bicycle in the parts. There is nowhere that we can find a real separate I in body and mind. Nowhere. You go and look for it, you can't find it. It manifests like a lump in here very often. Then you go and look for it, it disappears because it's not there. This is when they say, wrong view. The wrong view, the belief, the grasping at the really existing self. Okay. So it has no substance, is without essence, and this is why the things can manifest as a dependent arising in a distinctive way. So these two aspects of reality are inseparable, connected to each other. You cannot separate these two types of existence, like the emptiness and the conventional reality. They go together. They're depending on each other. They're not the same, but you can't say, okay, I just go into emptiness, goodbye. It's like there is a conventional reality. It has to go together. So ignorance also means to hold the I for real. Like this also the other is taken as real. Yeah, so we have real I and real other. This is how disturbing emotions develop. Me here with my disturbing emotions, different and separate from the other. This splitting into subject and object of the experience prevents liberation. This is the meaning of duality, the being separate of experiencer and experience. The clinging to this separate I creates tension. All conflicts start from there. Because of lacking awareness, there is no wisdom that this I is in reality a dynamic process. In this I feeling, there is no findable permanent I. It is only a movement of mind without any substance. Out of ignorance, we pamper and protect this I that does not even exist. We are caught in this self-centeredness that it seems almost impossible to have another view than from the perspective of this I. If we examine this feeling of I, we will not find anything that is a real I or a soul. Externally, we do find the end of me and the beginning of the other in touch. I am here and the other is there. But how is it in the mind? Is not the experience of other in our own mind? So when Descartes says, I think, therefore I am, but from the fact of thinking, we cannot deduct a real stable I. Thinking is a dynamic process and changes all the time. The question is, if there is somebody that thinks, thoughts are momentary movements of the mind. Where are the thoughts of yesterday? Everything changes, nothing stays. Where can there be a stable I in this ever-changing process? Also in meditation, you can have an experience of an awareness which has no reference points. So where is this I in these moments? Maybe it is in the process of observing, but also the observing is a process and falls away when you get into deeper absorption. So where is the I then? I is a useful concept in order to be able to communicate. So don't throw everything out, okay? Don't go, okay, there's no, I'm just also a lump of flesh. There is no I. You do have an I, yeah? So I is a useful concept in order to be able to communicate. I and the other are neither one nor separate. They are dynamic experiences. In this experience, you cannot find a permanent substance that we could define as a separate, constant individuum and would serve as a real identification and clear split to the world out there. I mean, just looking at the word individuum, it means not dividable. It's totally wrong. We're not an individuum. We're definitely dividable, and we're part of a whole. Without others, there is no I. There's no me. We think I can live alone, but if there would not be others, I couldn't make the distinction I or me. This is really interesting to see also. And when we see about our self-centeredness, how important we think we are, I am the only person in the whole universe who calls me I. Everybody else calls me you. And I think I'm so important. It's crazy. It's totally crazy not to see that what we are in reality, a tiny, tiny, tiny part of this universe. And when we start to realize this, our mind opens up and our life becomes much easier, much, much easier. When we think we are special, separate from others, we have to prove all the time that we are separate and that we are special. And that creates so much tension and so much stress. Yeah. So we are a vital, not graspable flow of experience without somebody. Where we suspect an individual essence, all we find is open awareness, which is not different from anybody else's. We do not have to defend the stream of awareness because it is not vulnerable. It is simply open space. The territory of the seeming I is in reality a karmic energy field without an owner. To identify with it is lacking awareness. To understand that there is nothing to defend is wisdom. Again, that's on the ultimate level. So do not go to the extreme by thinking that everybody now, from now on, can walk over you. Yeah. Do you more or less understand a little bit what this is all about? For those who know what I'm talking about, was it more or less clear? Noah is nodding. Kidi also. Was it Alan Wallace? No, it's not Alan Wallace. It's Lundrup Thielmann. It's a German. It was a great leap. Yeah, it's really great. I mean, he wrote a book because he was a monk. He's a Kagyu practitioner. His master is Gedun Rinpoche, and he's from Germany, and they do long retreats. So he studied to be a doctor, I think, or a psychologist, maybe a doctor first, and then a psychologist, like a medical doctor, then psychologist. Then he became a monk. Then he did long retreats under the guidance of Gedun Rinpoche, direct guidance in Germany and in France. And then he came out of retreat, and then I think he studied homeopathy as well. And now he's working with, he left his robes and he's working as a psychologist again. And he is giving Mahamudra retreats, of course, but also working with trauma, people who had like heavy traumas as a psychologist. And his name is Lundrup Thielmann. And he wrote this book, which is called Buddhist Psychology. So he brings psychology and Buddhism together. And he talks a lot about, antidotes to negative emotions and all this. It's a very thick book. It's like that thick. But I only have it in German. I don't know if it exists in English, but I'm pretty sure.
Yes, it exists in English, and it's a very good book.
It's a fantastic book. Who said
Yeah,
it?
it's in English.
Yeah, really. I mean, it really brings, you know, it brings that Eastern wisdom that for us who are so materialized is sometimes a bit far away. It really brings it here, and he can express it in a way so that we can understand. Is it called Buddhist psychology also in English? Okay. Huh?
I'm not sure. Maybe I mix it with tantric psychology. I don't know.
No, this is Rob Priest. This is different. This is
okay.
also a very good book. This is Rob Priest that exists in English. It's called maybe something like Buddhist psychology and the tantric system or something like that. No, this is more really just psychology, and he gives some cases of patients that he had and how they were dealing with it. So first is like explaining Buddhism in a really nice way, understandable. Can I write his name? Yes, I think I can. Can you feel your grasping minds? Oh, here in the chat. So it's Lundrup Tillman. Tillman is his first name. Bogart. I think like this, something like this. Okay. Doesn't seem to have been translated to English. I would be surprised because he's quite famous, and not just in Germany. I'll check. Okay, so maybe in the break I will check. Okay, do you have questions about this emptiness thing? Like how you get at it? Venerable René also explains it in a really good way. So, you know, it's whatever I said here, this is not from me. This I all learned from other people. So the way he says, you know, when we're looking for the I and then not finding it, it is like seeing that something is not there that we thought is there, that we were convinced that it's there. And he uses the example, well, he uses the car, but I think a better example is you are sure that your phone is in your bag, okay? And so you reach for it and you want to take it out and you can't find it. And you refuse to believe that it's not there. And you empty your bag maybe 5 times, but it must be here. This is this feeling of I or me. That kind of, you know, we hear it, it seems logic, whatever I read, feels totally logic. When somebody says, but you're an idiot, you're an, you know, you're whatever, the I comes up, yeah. And then I say, hey, we just agreed that the I doesn't exist. Why are you angry? You know, there is nobody there to be an idiot. I didn't say the mind is an idiot. I said, you are an idiot, so why are you upset? So we should never talk to somebody like this, by the way. But emptiness is about, understanding emptiness is you think something is there. And then you look and you look and you look and you look, you examine until you are really convinced that it's not there. Yeah, or he uses this one also. He uses that, can you see that figure? What is it?
It can be an A.
No, wait, I should have asked, what does it appear to be?
An A.
Yeah, exactly. It appears to be, this is what the mind jumps on it and says A, as if in these lines there is an A, okay? So this is the wrong conception. This is a really truly existing A. So then you look for it, and then is it here? Is it here? Is it here? And then it disappears. The A disappeared. The really truly existing A disappears. But then it arises again. We start to understand, yes, it is an A, but the A is dependent on the lines. Yeah. So first it appears as really existing. then you start to analyze it, then it disappears, and then it appears again, or it comes up again as, aha, yeah. It is an A, but it's merely appearing A that we can use in the alphabet. And it is depending on many things, on the lines, on the paper, on the ink, and so on. Okay.
And also, doesn't it depend on the previous imprint that we learned it's an A, because someone who doesn't know how to read just looks and says it's a form.
Definitely. This is why, you know, everything that seemed, not just the A that we have learned everything. This is it. And we think it really exists out there, but it's just we trained the mind to see it like this because we have these senses. Also, the whole thing about reality, if you would be a dog, a horse, or a butterfly, you know, you would perceive what we call reality in a totally different way. Yeah. So, and it's interesting. I have a friend of mine. There's a book called The Self-Delusion, which explains in terms evolution wants it to be in a brain. To go against it, yeah, it is in the it is as if the mind goes against the brain. Yeah, the ignorance, the grasping at I goes against the brain. This is it, you know, the being used to this feeling of I, this inherent I. This is exactly it. So, oh, what did I want to say? With the butterfly, yeah, a butterfly has, I don't know how many receptors for colors. So it looks like, you know, their reality looks totally different. And when we have a problem with somebody and somebody's getting on our nerves, we actually, when we describe it to somebody else, we make 3 big mistakes. Yeah, that we, through our speech, you know, this is what I mean. We have learned it. The friend of mine, she's quite young. She's only 54. And she has been diagnosed with dementia, and she really loses it. But sometimes she still kind of comes back. And she used to be a nun, and she studied Buddhism. Now she can't do anything. She participates in reciting Tara mantras. This is it. But she's quite happy, by the way. Yeah. So she has a happy mind. So, but when she was still able to explain a little bit what was happening, she said, you know, it's really strange. If I look at my watch, yeah, that if I look at the watch, I can immediately tuck. I say, as Edward is saying, I have learned these black lines mean 3 minutes past 2 here in past 2 here in Switzerland. Yeah, she says, then I look at it, and all I see is black lines, but I can't figure out what this is all about. This is how everything we think, you know, exists out there. Everything is learned. And then the mind loses it. And then maybe we get closer to reality, because these things, actually also the black lines are not inherently existing, but these things are closer to reality to be black lines than 3 minutes past 2. So she's actually almost closer to reality. We just think we are more normal because everybody agrees. These few black lines here say 4 minutes past 2 now. Yeah. So this is how we, with Buddhism, you start to examine and to study your mind, how it works, how it projects, what mistakes that it is making. Okay, and then, you know, all the reasoning and all the reasoning and the analyzing and all this next month you have Keshima Kelsang Wangmo, and she will guide you through it in a really, really skillful way. Yeah, but as I'm saying, it is the key. It is very important that you understand that. Otherwise, you don't understand what the Buddha is saying. Yeah, and as it says, you know, otherwise you can have great compassion, great love, and all these kinds of things, but it won't work properly. This is the thing, definitely not for liberation. So as His Holiness says, you know, if you want to understand Buddhism, the first thing you need to understand is the 2 levels of existence, or the 2 truths, conventional truth and ultimate truth. If you understand this, then you start to understand the Four Noble Truths, why there is suffering and that there is a way out of suffering. And if you understand this, then if you want to become a Buddhist, you can take refuge. Yeah. So by the way, you know, when I said this morning that His Holiness is trying to take the religious aspect out of Buddhism a bit, that doesn't mean he's doing that for the Buddhists. If somebody is a Buddhist, it's perfectly okay to be religious, to take refuge, to say these formulas, to say mantras, to visualize the Buddha. This is for people who have a different religion or who don't want a religion so that they can still use it. Yeah. I'm not saying that religion is useless, so don't go to that extreme. I love doing pujas, even though I don't know what they do to me, but I know that they do something to me on a very subtle level. I love to do deity practice because I feel that it moves something in me, but I wouldn't be able to explain what. But it's religious, and I know that it has an effect. But you need to have access to it. And if you have a different religion, which is theistic, then it's very difficult to accept Buddhist principles. A bit like this. This is why he's saying that. So I'm not saying religion is useless. I'm just saying, it's good that we can use these tools without putting the label religion on it. And by the way, because I see that Nif is here. So Nif, thank you very much for the invitation. Actually, the course I was supposed to do is canceled because of the coronavirus, so I can definitely participate because you have a new program of which is called 16 Guidelines coming to Israel. Nif Agam, you can ask him what this is all about, maybe at one point. He is organizing it mainly, and it is these Buddhist principles totally without the religious aspect being taught. How to work with the mind. It's called 16 Guidelines or 16 mind states to develop to have a happy life kind of things. And then they have many more other programs because that was Lama Yeshe's vision already in the 70s, that he said, we need to find ways to be able to prevent this to people, that it doesn't have the religious smell, so that it's accessible for everybody and everybody can use it. And out of that came the program, which is called the Foundation of Compassion and Wisdom, or Universal Education, something like that. But still, the other day we had a discussion also on Zoom with all the people who are a little bit involved in this and who are interested in this and doing this. And the question was, talking about racism, is it really universal? And we came to the thing, no, it's not. Because when we look who is here, white people who have gone to university, except for me, I feel in this circle of people, most of them have gone to university. I have left school when I was 15. I feel not totally at home, I have to say, So this is now they're starting to think about this. Is it really universal? Because these methods, where they would be the most needed, are not in university circles and highly educated people. And so there is one of them who lives in South Africa, and he's going and bringing it to the townships, and somebody's bringing it to the prisons. So this is where it will be most needed and be of help. Yeah. But then if you go as a white supremacist there, university degree and all this, they might not accept you. So it's complicated. This all-inclusive thing is really complicated. And then we start to see how naturally we're making these groups and these divisions. Okay, so my dears, we need to make a meditation on, on emptiness, which we will do after the break of 15 minutes. If that's okay with you, at least we try. Now, but please do not go to the extreme of thinking that you don't exist, okay? You do exist, but not the way you think you exist. As we say, we exist as a dynamic process, changing moment by moment by moment by moment, being able to, we can, because of our cortex, as we were we were talking about this morning. So again, you know, now I just told you, I left school when I was 15. I use words and psychology and science. I have no clue about this whole thing. I just use the labels, and sometimes they're wrong. So if you correct me, I'm really happy, because I'm just making a fool of myself anyway, you know, by using these things where I don't understand what I'm talking about. I'm just repeating here. So if I do make mistakes with these labels, then please correct me. Okay, so we will try. You do exist as a dynamic process, and every minute and second when we are aware of this, we can make choices for our future happiness or for our future suffering. And we are not really taking that choice. Okay? So maybe Nif, I don't know, Nif, if you want to put your email, if you are courageous enough to get all these questions, you're very welcome to put your email address. And then if anybody has question about these 16 guidelines, you're welcome to ask Nif what this is all about. Yeah. And again, if you participate in this program, please do not participate in it so that you can learn how to teach others. It's the same as Buddhism, okay? You have to learn it in order for you to learn it. Maybe then when you have grasped it and when you have understood it, then maybe if somebody asks, you can teach it to others. But that wouldn't be the proper motivation, yeah? You see, because, yeah, okay. Thank you, Nif. Because this is the same as with Buddhism. We want, of course we want to help others, but first we need to be able to apply it to ourselves. And so if you want to see their website also, what is this? FTCW, I think. And they have projects for children, for managers, for, you know, for all kind of groups of people. It's a very good program, I think.
I'd like to put it on as well now.
Huh?
I'll put the link as well.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, so we make 15 minutes break and then we do the final meditation. Please bring your I, me, self, or ego, because then otherwise without it, it won't work. Okay?
Okay, so Anila, we meet here at 3.
Maybe at half past.
Half past?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. See you.